So this is my friend Emma, and these are sweetbreads. Sweetbreads which people actually don't remember what they are. They are of the thymus gland and sometimes the pancreas of a young animal. If you see riz de veau or riz d'agneau on a French menu, those are sweetbreads. Emma has parboiled these, is that correct?
For 10 minutes.
For 10 minutes she parboiled them, and now the membranes that hold them together need to be removed before you do the final cooking. So we're being helped by Sonia. A lot of this work is fiddly, what you call in Yiddish patchkerei.
Patchkerei, I know that word well.
And it is simply because these were the cheapest cuts. They weren't filet mignon, they were the cheapest cuts of meat, and it was wonderful to be able to have meat at all. And it's curious, of course, that this was poor people's food in one part of the world and a great luxury in another, not terribly far away.
Cucina povere.
It's true.
And it's becoming increasingly difficult to find it at the butchers.
Because?
Because one butcher told me that it's all sent overseas.
Well, there you go.
And you don't often get it in restaurants. I've only been to 2 restaurants in Melbourne that have served it. But now, after having made it myself, I can understand why. Because it's so time-consuming to remove all the membrane.
But it's worth it.
It is definitely worth it.
At the end, it's definitely worth it. It's a real delicacy and something that you would not have been exposed to probably at home. Although it's possible that your mother or your grandmother made sweetbreads for a special treat. Ladies, continue. I can go away.
We're looking forward to the treat.
Well, the sweetbreads were finally cleaned. It took quite a while. And now we just lightly dusted them with flour, plain flour. And we're going to saute them in olive oil. The recipe calls for butter, but as we're doing kosher friendly, I'm going to use olive oil. And then we'll be just adding salt, pepper and Madeira. And they should come up as a sort of slightly golden in colour. So we're just going to pour the Madeira on, leave it for a minute or 2 and it is ready. And
Gosh,
you'd cook it for we'll cook it for a few more minutes, but that's the end of the process.
These are the finished sweetbreads. So they look very appetizing, and they're going to be served on a bed of a pea puree, which will look, hopefully, very attractive. And it smells marvelous. Honestly, the Madeira, it's such a beautiful smell.
It's one of my favourites, what can I say? It's worth the trouble, all the peeling. The idea of serving it on the pea puree is Irene's.
I think it looks very pretty. It's always important. It's always important to make things visually interesting. And as it has a sort of a bland beige brown colour, the green sort of lightens it up, and pea is a sign of spring, and should be very tasty. My friend Rita is going to sample what we've put together because she's an expert on this kind of thing. So these are sweetbreads cooked in Madeira on a bed of pea puree.
Fresh pea puree?
Fresh pea puree.
Okay, I'll try the sweetbreads first. Oh, the Madeira makes it smell lovely.
And
the peas too. But
that's my friend Emma's mother's recipe. She cooked it. Doesn't have onions, doesn't have garlic, the traditional foods. And it's very delicate, isn't it?
That's good. That's good.
We'll have to tell Emma.
Because what you've got is the flavour of the Madeira. I can't characterise the flavour of sweetbreads. They're not quite meaty, is the only description I have for the flavour, but they're textural more than anything else. What we've got here is that slightly different texture that you get with offal. Brains have a texture, tongue has a texture, sweetbreads have a texture, and they're all different from the fibre of meat, of the primary and secondary cuts of meat. The Madeira gives it a lovely sweetness.
Which is unusual, yes.
Which is unusual, and the peas are great fun.